Hope you're feeling refreshed. Did anyone get to enjoy the wonderful weather outside? A little bit? Yes? Who thinks the weather right now is very beautiful? Who thinks it's a little too hot? Anybody? A few people. See, we're different. We're the same, but we're different. We like to enjoy weather, but we might not like the same kind, right? Okay, so before we get started with the rest of our content, we wanted to check in with our group agreements because we have yet to do that today. And so we have posted them over here. And this group is very ambitious with our group agreements, right? We have lots of hopes and ideals about the way we want to treat one another, everything from mutual understanding and respect to authenticity, acceptance, understanding, love, all those things. So what I'd like you to do is take a moment and just reflect. How are we doing with our group agreements? Just as a group, how do you feel we're doing? And if there's anything you think we maybe could improve on for the rest of the afternoon or the day tomorrow, we'd like to hear that as well. Yes. Hold on a moment. Let me give you.
Hello, I'm Denshi. So far I have been breaking this rule. Not calling the name. I'm Denshi. I want to include, I feel like, how about keeping our mobile phones switched off or on silent mode while the workshop is on?
Thank you. So you want to make a suggestion about the phones? Okay. And if we're doing this with our students, of course, we might also ask them why they would make that suggestion. What about that do they think would be helpful with respect to the rest of the agreements? So I'll just say probably we talked a lot about attention before lunch and the role that attention plays. So where we place our attention is very important. And so this will help us place our attention in the right space together. Would anyone else like to make a suggestion or just comment on how you feel we're doing with our group agreements so far? Also, you can say something positive too. If you feel something is really working, we're doing well, that's also fine to acknowledge that.
I like the patience.
Patience. That's right.
Because as this days stretch, we could lose patience.
Okay, we added patience to our list of things we're working on together. Yes. Does anyone object to patience? So I have noticed that the quality of care that you're giving one another during this learning experience is very high. And I just wanted to appreciate that I feel like the group, you all as individuals, many of you don't know one another, but you're getting to know one another and you're being welcoming to one another and providing space for different voices and showing concern and care when we're doing our activities. And I feel like that's contributing to a positive feeling in the group. So I wanted to appreciate you for that and thank you for doing it. Okay, great. Thanks for checking in about our group agreements. I'm going to turn it over to Geshe-la, who will be doing another practice with us.
So before the lunch, we discussed about attention. Let's practice this briefly in relation to the breath. So breath would be where we would anchor our attention. But when we talk about the breath, sorry. So I don't have very good karma with the sound system. We are going to do a brief practice, and this will be cultivating attention or refining attention, and we will do that in relation to our breath, bringing the focus to the breath, and then sustaining from one breath that's next. We might wonder that how do we attend to breath? It's actually the sensation of the breath. The sensation of the breath. When you breathe in and out, you might feel some sensation at your nostrils, and when cool air enters your nostrils, you might even feel a certain kind of tactile sensation of coolness. Perhaps when warm air exits, you might feel subtle sensation of warmth. Or if that doesn't work, you might feel when you breathe in a slight kind of tightening or constricting of your nostril as you are breathing out, kind of burning right now in the nostril. You may find it easier to notice your breath at abdomen. Some people find it easier. While you breathe in, your belly rises slightly. As you breathe out, it flattens. So you could choose either one of those places. You would first want to find your breath. That is said that you first want to connect the breath. And then from there on, just one breath at a time. You maintain the awareness of that in-breath and the sensation of the out-breath. If it helps, you can count silently each breath as one, each cycle as one. Breathe in one, without saying not one, and then you breathe out. And then you breathe out again, make it one, like this is two, and breathe out. Important part is that as we maintain the mindfulness of breath, meaning that retaining the breath in our awareness. Mindful, meaning that retaining, not forgetting, not losing, but keeping that sensation in breath, in your awareness. So that's what the mindfulness really means. But it's only natural that our mind will wander on. It's really mind wandering happens very often, at least 50% of the time. Even when you are reading, your mind is wandering somewhere else. And they say that often when the mind wanders, there is a term nowadays in the neuroscience, it's called there are certain parts of the brain in the medial frontal cortex is part of the brain. It's referred to as the default mode zone, default mode networks. Default means automatic, like when you are not actually consciously, deliberately doing something, where your mind goes automatic. Like in the computer, when you have a computer, a certain setting that's automatically goes to, that's default, right? So when we are not deliberately, consciously attending our mind, often where our mind goes to is called the default mode. Now, in the default mode, what happens is that people when it's in the default mode, often people are ruminating about things that went wrong, maybe something, an argument with some person or some relationship that kind of went sour or some worries, you kind of ruminate and get stuck in that. That's what happens. So when mind wanders, it goes often to those kind of some personal sticky issues, the emotional issues that feel worried or the kind of this unhappy and all those things. Or sometimes it goes to just sounds and like that, the sensory kind of distraction. Sensory distractions are much easier to notice and bring back your attention. It's the emotional distractions, the emotional issues where our attention goes to. Then we don't often notice and get stuck there. And that's where it causes that all those autonomic nervous system, it kind of dysregulates your body. So that's why here what we are learning is to apply this monitoring meta-awareness. That while we keep our attention with the breath, in the beginning, from time to time, You want to deliberately, consciously kind of monitor, examine if you are with the breath or your attention has gone to some sounds or some memories or some worries or some anticipations or some just random thoughts and like that, or not in your monitor. And if you notice that your mind attention has gone somewhere else, just acknowledge there's no need to react adversely. Just notice, acknowledge, and use your choice, that is to bring it back, your attention. It's not like reactive. It's using that as one's choice to return to practice. As you can do that, then once again you just stay with the breath for a few seconds. If you want to set a limit, let's say 7 breaths or 10 breaths, you can do that. You can repeat it once you reach there. Or if at any point if that interrupted by some thoughts and feelings, it's your way your attention is gone off to. And when you return your attention back, you start once again from first. And then see if you can. And that's what really like in the gym when you go and then you pull up those weightlifters for the 10 times or whatever is the routine, right? It builds your muscle. Here also, when you are kind of building up this for 7 breaths, and then you return to the one and build the 7 breaths, like that, it's building your attention muscle, and then you will be more present. So let's do this. I'm going to sit down. Let's just do a sitting posture. Placing your body in a comfortable position where you feel comfortable. Perhaps bringing your back in fully upright position. Just like this beat. There is the string running through the beat. It's our spine, and then you kind of pull to adjust so that these beads are kind of sitting on top of each other by its own weight. In that way, our vertebrae is nicely aligned and kind of resting in that position of its own accord, so that there is no pressure put to keep that position. And it helps us with alertness or the wakefulness. Our feet are flat on the floor to help with the stability of the mind. When our body is stable and still, it helps settling of the mind instead of being too hyper. And hands can be just resting on your knees or thighs, or the floor you can place in your lap. Your shoulders level, just slightly raised, slightly pull initially, so that your chest is broad open to help with your breathing. But then you let the shoulders just rest in that level position. Head slightly bent, so the chin slightly tucked inside. Your eyes cast downwards, leaving slightly open if it is not too distracting. But instead of focusing on any particular thing, you may just slightly cast downwards. Allow enough light to enter through your eyes to help with wakefulness. If we are not awake, we will not be able to maintain the mindfulness of breath. Now, lips and teeth are in natural position, just gently touching. If you are doing for a long time, you may place your tip of the tongue and keep the upper palate near the roots of the upper teeth. The other teeth, gently, the teeth and lips, just gently touching. Let's take a moment to connect with these postures. Feel what it feels to have your back in fully upright position. Feel the stillness of the body as your feet are nicely placed on the floor that kind of supports your body and helps your body to be stable and still. Perhaps feel the touch of your lips as they're gently touching. And then let's take just a couple of deep breaths, like as we did in the morning, to bring this initial relaxation. breathing in through the nostrils, refreshing and rejuvenating airs. That kind of brings the oxygen to your body, every cell, every time makes your body with flow of oxygen and this the alert, rejuvenated with the exhalation. Clear away any distress, any worries and so forth that you may just want to let it go with the outgoing breath. And then take a moment to find your breath. Just really not thinking about the breath, but connecting with it, where you feel you can attune to. You see that the abdomen with that in and out movement of the belly, where you feel your breath most clearly. Or at the nostril, with the subtle changes in the nostrils, tightening, opening, or just some subtle sensation of coolness and the warmth with the outgoing breath. What do you feel? Where can you connect with your breath most clearly? Once you have connected with your breath, and you have found, just gently direct your attention there to rest with each incoming and outgoing breath. Simply maintaining the awareness of unfolding sensation in the breath and of the outgoing breath, just one breath at a time. Feel free to come if it helps to keep the attention sustained from one breath to the next, whatever number you choose. To sustain your attention, just reaching to that point and returning back to one and doing back to those numbers of respirations. As you sustain your attention in the present with incoming and outgoing breath, even if you feel your attention is stable with the breath, just apply this monitoring from time to time to see if your attention is here in the present with the breath, or has wandered off to some thought, memories, and so forth. Or even sometimes just underline a certain thinking of the mind, literature or sleep. If we notice certain distractions, just acknowledge without fighting, without reacting. But just exercising our choice to bring the attention back to the present, back to the breath. And then once again, just simply being with the breath one breath at a time. while sustaining our attention here in the present with incoming and outgoing breath. At times, if our mind begins to become foggy, so we begin to sink into sleepiness. As we become aware of such sinking or relaxing, just slightly increase the intensity of the focus on the breath. Slightly tighten that focus on the breath at the nostril or at that time. If needed, bring the back in fully upright position to bring the wakefulness. Or even open your eyes to clear that sleepiness. And then return your attention back to the breath. And once again, one breath at a time. See if you can be fully present with each incoming and outgoing breath. As we conclude this brief meditation, let's dedicate any benefits arising from this meditation, or any benefits for that matter that will unfold from having a better presence of the mind. Let's dedicate those merits for the well-being of all, and for peace, healing, and harmony on this earth. Thank you.
So, we had a really nice overview of self-compassion, what it is not and what it is from the Emory perspective, with Geshe Lakdo and Geshe Losel before break. And this is the insight activity that will engage you in discovering for yourself what happens internally when you come across a bit of a frustration. So let me give you a little bit of an overview. You may have noticed when you arrived that there are some objects in the center of your table. And what I'll ask you to do at this moment is to take one of the index cards as a background for the red thread. And so just put that right in front of you. You'll each have one, and if you don't have one, let us know, we can get you one. Please don't touch the thread yet. So this is an exercise that I do with my students, and that I do time and time again, because our self-talk and our engagement with a task that might bring frustration always will offer an insight about ourselves and how we navigate such frustration. So if you've done this before, please engage again with a beginner's mind, and also know I'm sure that new insights will arise. Some of them have seen this red thread before, right? So this is actually going to be a combined experience, both of attentional stability, this is woven into the experience, and also you'll be noting internally what's happening. So we'll have a discussion afterwards about this sort of self-talk. So to give you an overview, you're going to be looking at the knot, and then I'll give you a few prompts. And all of this will be done in silence. And afterwards we will have a discussion. Okay. So the first part of this process is actually just going to be to give 1 full minute without touching anything, without anything in one's hands, without any distraction, without any notes. So if you'll place everything aside and just place your index card in front of you. so that you have a nice view of your knot. So I'm going to guide you through the minute of looking at your knot.
Oh, there's Geshe, I wanted one. There's another one. Do you need one? Where'd it go? I lost
So
it.
I'm going to ask you to fully bring your attention to just the knot itself. And for the full minute, you'll allow your eyes to wander all the way around the knot. Okay? Sometimes we don't give space just to looking, so this is a full minute of just looking. So let's go ahead and start our minute now. So I invite you to take a look at your knot. Look at the very start of the thread, if you see it. Follow that contour all the way through to where you hit an obstacle. And then continue following all the way through. And once you feel you've seen the entire knot, look again and see if you can find another detail that you didn't notice the first time. Now you might consider what would be the first step to loosen this knot. How might you engage in loosening the knot? Not untying it, but just loosening it. So time's up. So now if you'll silently, just as best you can, take a moment to try to loosen your knot. And while doing so, monitor your thoughts, okay? And take note of what types of thoughts arise and what types of strategies arise as you're loosening your knots. So I'll go ahead and give you about a minute to begin to loosen your knots. While you're listening, take note of what's motivating you. What's behind your process? And again, if any frustration, what is the voice inside of your mind saying to you? If those become distractions, just bring your attention back to the knot and loosening. So let's go ahead and place this thread down. And perhaps we can be okay with a job not completed. So if there's anyone willing to share their process with us, that would be great. Anyone like to share how they navigated this process?
I think one of the first things I noticed was a pattern. There were patterns in the notes. That was my first observation, the observation of pattern. tightening the knots. The thing that came to mind was the fact that I had to hold it very gently. And it was the aspect of holding something with care and gently that ensured that the knots didn't contribute to further tightening the knots. And holding something gently relaxed me, and therefore the entire exercise of made me feel very present and aware of what I was doing without being distracted. So I think it was the relaxation that came with the holding gently, which I found was an aha moment.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing.
I was feeling anxious before starting to untie the threads or the bow. But when I got the first lead, I felt happy that I'm going to untie all the bows. When you keep on untying, I feel motivated to do more. And I feel relaxed too because I'm getting all the knots moved. And at the end, this gives me frustration. Like, it's not getting done. So that's what I feel.
So stopping before you
Yeah.
completed.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So you had a desire to untie
Untie
all of the knots.
yeah.
That was a motivation.
My name is Shivali. By the time you said, don't touch your thread out and down, I'd already sort of, whatever I did had basically made the knot really tight. And so after that, then you told us what to do, which is to unknot it as you were telling us what to do. In my mind, I was already thinking, that now seems difficult because now this is really tight. Initially, the activity must have been created such that you could untie if you were slow and delicate with it, but it was already quite tight. And so then I started thinking, okay, let's see what's going to happen. And then when I started out, I started thinking different ways. So since it's a very, very thin thread, and if something is really tightly knotted, it's difficult to really unknot it. But then I started thinking if there was some out-of-box things that I could do, maybe a few strands of the thread would come off and the knot would automatically, even the thread would get thinner, but it would automatically come off. So I started to do all of those things, but nothing was happening. And so in my mind there was this voice, the frustration voice was basically saying, why am I putting so much time in this? This is really not really, like this is quite limiting activity, how does it matter? Even if it doesn't matter, what does it really, it doesn't really impact much. And then I started thinking that, do I also, is this thought also there in my head at other moments which are more significant? And are there times in my life where I actually tell myself, oh, it doesn't really matter, I shouldn't put it so much. That is.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Well, Jensen, I just looked at the knot at the beginning and it's very complicated. So then I just thought, oh, it's not, why should I do it? It's difficult and complicated. Then you told us that just look very carefully to the knot. And I started looking more in detail. Then I got the first knot tied. Then I untied the first knot. Then I felt, oh, I can do it. And then gradually on, then 70% of the knot was totally untied. And 30% was left. And I said, okay, I think a little bit frustrated and I left it. I said, oh, I just take the rest and I try again. Then when I went to the last leg of the knot, it seems totally impossible. Then I looked to my friends here and there. Everybody was so busy. So, then I got demotivated. Then again I tried. And finally you said, okay, let's stop it there.
This is a bit of a roller coaster for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the comparison is interesting. Yeah, when you notice how you're noticing others.
Yes, actually, in a classroom situation, like when we do this type of activity to the children, like they do it, but they also look here and there.
Yeah.
And that sometimes motivates, sometimes demotivates, you know. They look at the age groups. So this is what I was doing here,
Yes.
looking to my friends, you know. So everybody was so busy. He is still trying right now.
So I would like to ask all of you, what does this have to do, this process of loosening the knots, have to do with self-talk? The voice that is inside, is it an ally or is it something different? Is
Enemy.
it encouraging or not encouraging, right? Also, what does this have to do with understanding our own motivation? So many of the comments spoke to motivation, competition, an intrinsic motivation to go beyond just loosening and untying all of the knots, even though the instruction was loosen, right? So this tells us many things, makes visible many things. And this is just one example of many different types of activities where a task can be given to a student, in which one small frustration can come, and they're given the opportunity to make space for understanding what's happening internally. Did anyone give up completely? Just give up? Yes. Did you break the thread? Was there any breaking of the thread?
But it is still there, but I gave up.
So this is also fascinating too, recognizing our threshold, yeah? And sometimes pulling away and disengaging is a strategy also. Was there one more comment? Any other comments?
I want to share my experience about this activity. Initially, the instruction when you said, I just look at the thread, it seems like easier. But when I come to the practical, that's a difficult, you know? So after I'm doing this, I'm not incomplete, you know? So I just give it. That means whatever you see, whatever you learn from theoretical, that seems like easier. When you come to the practical way, that's difficult, I guess.
Thank you. Would you like to see some comments from the students after they did this experience?
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a few examples. Do you want to listen to a story? I'm not reading all of them, but similar, actually, responses. Quite very. I'm happy you shared that you only had to loosen the knot. Like my life, it is easy at first and then difficult when I reach an obstacle. I was distracted and brought my attention back. I got all the knots out except this little one. This gave me the most frustration. So I stopped. On a daily basis, I do this by procrastinating, focusing only on that one small knot. All the string met at one point, so I thought all I needed to understand was the connection. They were all interconnected. Then when I loosened them, I saw all the pathways more clearly. Then there were multiple ways to loosen. My hands were too big. Some things we cannot control. So I found my grandmother, resource, who could do this better than me. Thinking of her, I completed it with support from the thought of the grandmother. Finally, inevitably, some knots cannot be undone. Okay, we're not going through that.
Right.
So I thought I'd actually share a little bit more student work from not only my class, but multiple C-learning classes in the US. This happens to be my group of students from last year. They were the first pioneering class of ethical dilemmas in decision making. I had the incredible honor to present to His Holiness, and some of you may have seen that presentation, but this is the group of students whose work I presented. And this was a photograph taken specifically for His Holiness, thus they're all shining brightly. So when asked what are we coming to know about compassion and emotions, I'd like to actually look at the process through which we arrived, and specifically about emotions, because we haven't at all touched upon those yet. So this is a classroom at a school called Paideia, which is a partner of ours and has been for some years. A teacher here named Jose is doing a mind jar activity. And the way that we use the mind jar is actually to explore not only what happens when our mind is stirred or agitated and it becomes cloudy, but also to really do a deep dive into understanding the nature of emotions. So children are asked to, this is my class, my current class, to have a practice similar to the attention training practice that Geshe-la just led us through. And they note during that practice, what were some of the thoughts that came up that distracted you? And they also do personal reflections. What are some of the thoughts that inhabit your mind? Okay. And then you're asked to choose an object that represents that specific emotion, recognizing that emotions have different qualities. Some might be transparent, some might be large, take up a lot of space in the mind. Some might, when added and agitated, turn the color of the water a different shade. Yeah? And it cannot be undone. You might have all of the objects settle, but still they remain. So this prompt actually allows for many, many in-depth conversations around emotion families. Are there innately risky emotions? Are there constructive emotions? When does an emotion become destructive? When does it become constructive? And these sorts of ideas. Geshe-la, I was wondering if you'd like to join me for a moment. Sure. This is the Atlas of Emotion, created by Doctors Paul and Eve Ekman, a father and daughter. Some of you may be very familiar. But this resource I'd like for Geshe-la to connect to our framework so that I can show you the next portion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay. So, educating the heart and mind, the psychoethics, is about really inner work, right? In fact, when we presented, actually it wasn't there, but the precursor to C-learning is another program, and we developed called CDC, Cognitive Compassion Training. And when we presented that to the group of people, one of them was the commissioner of human services in Georgia, a department that oversees many programs, including foster care children, the children who have been neglected by their parents or have struggles, and so they move on from one family to another. These are very, troubled in many cases, these children are. And this commissioner was looking for a program that would help these children. And I remember she invited myself and my colleague, one of the scientists, in her office, and she said that she really saw this program can help her children, foster care children. And she said that we don't have a shortage of programs for these children. There are many programs, dozens. But she said that these are all about fixing the external conditions. And she said that the program that you all have is the one that change, the change, comes from inside. Yes, the change inside, and she said that she sees is very important. So psychoethics is about bringing inner change, and that means that the inner change not only at the level of thoughts, but at the level of feelings, emotions, because emotions are what drives our decisions. But actually, from many scientific studies, we know now that our immediate reactions are driven not by conscious thinking, actually by the gut feelings, with emotions. These are feelings.
I just want to make sure I get all parts of it. Is it really just
So it's very important that we find a way not only to understand emotions, but also how to then have a better kind of ability to manage it. And in some cases, even transform it. And for that, we need to understand what the emotions look like, atlas of emotions. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in this book, both Ethics of the Millennium and the Beyond Religion, expresses the importance of having a map of mind of the emotions, other atlas of the mind. And Paul Ekman is a scientist. He is the foremost authority, if you will, of emotions, on emotions. Scientific study of emotions, how evolutionary, from the evolutionary perspective, how we understand emotions. He met His Holiness in 2000 at the Mind and Life Conference on emotions. Paul Ekman was a total kind of atheist. I mean, he's still atheist. That's not a problem. But he did not see any value. He did not see. Yeah, I told you that I have a problem with it. Analogy. He did not see any value for scientists to engage with a spiritual leader like His Holiness. He thought that they were wasting their time. But
I didn't know that.
because he really cared for his daughter, Eve Ekman, and she had spent his summer study program in Nepal, and part of that was homestay with the families, and she stayed with the Tibetan family, and just deeply connected. And through that, she came to really appreciate and respect His Holiness Dalai Lama. So Paul Ekman, when he was invited to this conference, he would not have gone, but he was given an opportunity to bring a family member, and he wanted to bring his daughter to meet His Holiness. And that actually changed his life. Totally. Professional life of 45 years is scientific work in emotions. And personal life, personally, what kind of his emotional life, and both are so, 180 degrees.
I did not know the story.
Change. On the professional level, he was looking at emotions just to learn through facial expression, so then you can detect whether you are lying or you are angry or you are sad, and that's about it. He did not see any value of compassion and having the emotions that you can nurture, that can enrich your life and so forth. It's from that meeting he saw that emotional life, how we can cultivate positive emotions like compassion and kindness, and that would have tremendous kind of ramification of benefit on personal level and for the level of society. And then so they came up with a book, that is called Emotional Awareness. Very good book. I recommend you read that book, Emotional Awareness. On the personal level, it changed his life. He says that from age 16 and until 66 or so, when we met His Holiness, He said that there was not a day or not a week that went by without having at least a couple of big anger outbursts.
Yeah.
He was very angry because in his childhood he had a very rough relationship with his father, and so he was very angry. But that meeting where His Holiness held his hand, and he felt something that he could not explain. It felt like a warmth, but there was no heat. It permeated his whole body. And that changed his emotional life. He did not have single anger outburst for whole 7 months. You know, his wife, after a week when she came to join him in India to make a tour, after a couple of days, she says that she told him, "You're not the same person," you know, because he's changed. He was not angry. So anyway, His Holiness asked Paul Ekman, because he is such an expert in emotion, to create an atlas, a map of emotions. And this is what it is. His work is very well known in scientific field around some basic emotions for like anger and sadness and fear, disgust, happiness. There are 5 basic emotions, and then the family of emotions, and then his daughter, together with his daughter, they have developed what's called an emotional timeline. Emotions, to understand emotions, not only to recognize emotions, but to understand how emotions unfold, is very important, so that we can also learning that what triggers emotions. How do we recognize emotions? Where do we recognize emotions? What kind of conditions lead to the emotional unfolding? All that information is so important. And the wonderful work that Jen has been doing with her students to really chart this emotional timeline is a wonderful work that she will share. I think that we can do that. One thing I do want to mention is that, again, when it comes to working with emotions, it is the Indo-Tibetan tradition so rich in the Buddhist tradition. I'm not sure that the other traditions in India are, but I'm not familiar with the Buddhist traditions. But I'll just give you one example. Vasubandhu, in the 5th century, Vasubandhu, in this Abhidharma Kosha, there's a text. It's like an encyclopedia of the psychology, ethics, and everything about life. He presents in terms of what kind of completes the unfolding of our emotional reactions. So here he says, "Tage kompa mainka yuni never never sushima yijine nyohoni songs." That's in Tibetan. Originally it's in Sanskrit, but it's translated in Tibetan. But he basically presents 3 conditions. First of all, when the dispositions for our proclivities or the emotions are not uprooted, when the dispositions are there within our mind, within our life in the mind stream. If the dispositions are there, then if the potential triggers are in proximity, if you engage with those with improper attention, then all the conditions for your emotions are complete. Let's give you an example. Let's say I was using the example of addiction, right, earlier. So let's say if I was born, with my body that already has certain kind of genetic, inherited certain dispositions for addiction. If my parents were very addicted, very likely that I would have inherited such disposition. So disposition for addiction, this craving, same sexual craving, dispositions are there. Now what will it take? Let's say it was alcohol. If there is no alcohol around, I may have all these dispositions, but then, you know, the real strong desire may not unfold. But let's say alcohol is around, I see it or smell it and like that. It's very likely that I would have that, you know, response, like the desire. But just having disposition and the possible trigger in the proximity is not enough. You need to have the third condition, and that is sushima agent. Sushima and that is the inappropriate attention or the engagement. That is to set it in modern language psychology, we call this as projections. Projecting what is not there, that exaggeration of attractiveness, repulsiveness, all kinds of projections that we bring that's not there. And that's what completes. If I smell something and then for me it means that this is such a wonderful for me, then I will have the desire, right? So that's just what I want to kind of share. That means that what triggers also depends on so much of our environment, the dispositions. So emotion timeline is a way to kind of understand about how emotion unfolds, and then through that we can learn to how to manage.
I feel it coming on.
There are many such tools given in our curriculum. The fourth chapter is about navigating emotions, and it's very much. And again, I want to kind of point to this group that this is very much your legacy.
That's true.
Thank you so much. So, as far as practically in the classroom, how I use this Atlas of Emotions, is I actually have the children investigate the Atlas itself. It's an online tool with many different pages and components, and shows the intensity and continuum of emotions, and also context of emotions and the emotion timeline, which you see an example of on the bottom here. I don't use it as it's one psychological model, right? And in fact, many psychologists have imparted their wisdom in the creation of this tool. However, there's still many aspects of the tool that are in debate within the psychological world. So I very much stress this with the students and ask them to think about what is missing. Does this atlas actually represent what you've experienced in your personal life or not? And they've actually added many components, different intensity orders or chronology. They have also added a full continent. And we may not actually agree with them. In fact, psychologists might not agree with them. But the idea here is that they're creating a map of the mind. And they're beginning to construct based on process of analysis and experimentation and thinking about their own personal life as a tool to consider what is their idea of emotions and emotional intensity. And does it actually map onto the psychology model or another psychology model? And that continues to evolve the more times we engage with this tool and other psychological models as well. So this tool is used specifically to create emotion timelines. And you can see the details up at the top. But first we use a proxy again. An idea, this one is coming from a podcast. They're listening to a story, a true story of a very difficult court case where a child dies and the parents were sued by the person who actually was in the truck who killed the child. So it's very complicated. I only recommend it for high school students. It has been done with our middle school students, but many stories can be used. And the idea here is to map out the emotional context So what are the characters in the story coming with? What is their emotion model, right? Maybe we can do this. Thanks so much.
Sure.
So I have them consider, what is the primary emotion involved in this story? Or in the emotional event, a significant emotional event of the character? So that would be number one. What are the secondary emotions occurring within the story? And with this, they're actually looking at the atlas of emotion to discern terms and intensity, and noting those as well. So they're really examining the emotional experience. They're also looking at what is the emotional conditioning of this person or character. So what is this psychological model, if you know, that the character is bringing? And do we have any hints about the character's background and what they might be thinking about emotions? Are emotions okay to express in their family or not? Have they been given freedom to express, or has it been repressed, etc.? That's a contributing factor. Number 4 is the emotional context, meaning when that person came into that experience, what was happening? Had they eaten that morning? Did they have a fight with someone earlier, an argument with someone earlier? Were they agitated? What was their autonomic nervous system doing, right? What are they bringing to that experience that might actually affect the intensity of the emotional event itself? Afterwards, they think about possible responses. So what are some possible responses, other than the actual response of that character? What are some possible responses that that character could use to respond to that emotional event? So it may be something that actually leads to regret, right? It may be something more extreme and quite out of a place where they end up thinking, oh, I should not have done that. Or it might be with awareness. So if there's a dimension of awareness there, what is a possible outcome if that awareness is part of the picture? So they're considering options. And then they also document the actual response to the event. How did the character actually respond in that situation? And then they're given the opportunity to revisit the autonomic nervous system and do a chart of the emotional experience with just the facts that we know. We may not have all of the facts of that character's experience, but we think, was this person regulated or dysregulated in this moment? And when we tie all of these factors together, we start to understand that we have choice and agency, that there are actually other responses than the one that this character chose. But we also start to see that we can loosen our blame of the self or of the character for the complete blame lying on them is not fair, right? But there are many contributing factors to this experience. And by mapping them, they can actually start to see what are those and where is choice and discernment within this process. And where, when I apply it to my life, can I assert my own agency when I have created space between a stimulus and a response through my attentional stability or my attention training practice. Does that make sense? This is some examples of these charts, and they go on and on. I created this vellum. Someone can take this home if they like. I brought it to India for someone to have. But this is great because you can actually just put it in a window. And when you place this in the window and then a piece of paper over it, one can just trace the chart. And then everyone has a large chart that they can use to collaborate on.
Gives them out.
These are some middle school explorations of map of the mind with the emerging family of sadness. So I have a middle school teacher who I collaborate with. And here is a full chart of jealousy and different experiences that a middle school student has to denote the intensity of this emotion. And where impulse and youthfulness and appraisal and stimulus all come into play. So we have many different quotes here. I think what I'll do is just show you a video, and we
Can you
can...
explain emotion model again?
Emotion model?
Yeah, that's some questions in the back.
Oh, emotion model.
What is emotion model? Number 3.
Oh, emotion model. That is, there's a question about what is an emotion model. The emotion model is really what is that particular individual's idea of emotions coming into the emotion experience. So this can be something that happens from a family conditioning, like maybe a father or mother figure did not allow for that person to express certain emotions, so that might be part of someone's emotion model. Or it may be that they have their own idea of good and bad of relating to emotions. So just considering what is our conditioning around emotions, and that actually is a factor in how we might experience emotions. That's a lens through which we see an emotional experience.
Thank you.
Culturally, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
So what we would actually like for you all to do, there's a handout coming around, and we're actually going to try this ourselves with a personal experience. And this personal experience, what I'd like for you to do is consider either a very recent event or an event in the past where there was a spark of emotion that was not extinguished, right, before it started to make a bigger and bigger fire, right? So we might take an example of anger or jealousy. These might be easier ones to think of. But a moment where in your own life you can recall having an emotion, and that emotion was fed and fed more until it became an event or an experience that led to a sense of regret. Not necessarily deep shame. This is not like the mountain of challenges, but rather just a recent frustration or an exchange with someone where you thought, that could have gone better, right? Or I wish maybe that did not happen because now it's become much more complicated. So we all have these. But I'd like for you to just take a couple of minutes to write on this, on the bottom of this handout.
There's some space on the
in
bottom.
Extra space. Sort of a moment when a spark became a forest fire, metaphorically, in your life. Okay, so we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that.
Is it clear?
Is that clear? Yeah.
Let's see if they have questions. Yeah, maybe check in with them.
Sparks to forest fires in several times. Several times, that's time.
Once they start filling out their papers, I think they're going to need a little bit of support because there's not numbers on there. Right, the diagram. She's going to walk them through that. Okay. And they can't see the back from the diagram.
self-appreciation. So that is not more 전부 실자에 그런 남자들이 제가 보면서 보자. 저다들 이제 남자들이 actually 남바에 가라서 저희가 이제 제가 또 대학교 때 내내 이제 그 너무 전부 실주의 소소 좀 못하고 되네 이렇게 너무 başarılı 보스다가 저희 나라도 내려서 나라도 가면 너무 중요하고 뭔가 살아서 그때 중요해요. 지금 수고가 쉬어요. 그래서 나는 수고가 쉬어요. 내내 지금은 어떻게 내내 좋은 가서 고마워 했잖아. 선물하나. 내가 그래서 제가 이렇게 가고 Then what do they do with it?
We're going to write about it.
So I'll give you a couple of minutes, and if it's something just very simple, that's okay too. You don't have to have the perfect experience. It can be any emotion.
When it started off as a spark and then became a forest fire. So from the smaller, less intense experience to one that is bigger, more intense. Think about a time when that happened.
Because there are some situations, first thing is starting bigger, and then it gets down.
So it can still be this one.
Yeah.
Just talk mainly about the spark becoming the big one, and
Yeah.
not the aftermath.
So that can be a possible.
That is possible. Absolutely. And as you start to complete your reflection, if you want to move on and you can see this chart, you can begin to consider all of these contributing factors and begin to fill out your own personal timeline. We may not get to all of that.
I am proud of you.
Yes, now that you're thinking about it, this is a great question. When we think about the possible responses to the event, you can think about it being even more intense or more constructive. As just a variety of responses is what we're thinking. At the personal level, exactly. Okay, so just for the sake of time, I'm going to move on just to give you the review of the different components of the timeline. You don't have yours labeled, but I'll walk you through the process. So the idea is that the emotional event, or the primary emotion that you experience, is here in the center. So just mark that as best you can. If you are trying to discern between two different emotions, think about the one that became the most intense in that emotional experience. So we recognize that very rarely is there an isolated one emotion in a certain event. So, and if you have contributing emotions to that event, secondary emotions, those are here in this circle, number 2. Then if you'll consider, number 3, what sorts of ideas do you have from your family, from your culture, from your background that you're coming with? What are some of the conditions or conditionings faith tradition around emotions. Right? And you can just jot down a few of those. Write down a few of those here. Number 4, this is what we're referring to as the emotion context. So if you can bring yourself...
Can you explain the emotion model again?
Sure. So the emotion model is what ideas about emotions are you bringing with you to this event. So an example might be, so if I was very, very angry with my brother, right? The emotion model that I'm bringing with me is, I'm thinking, what sorts of conditions has my family shared with me? What are some of the ideas about emotions has my family shared with me? So for me personally, my father showed anger quite often when I was a child, but my mother showed sadness. So I saw through those lenses. That I could actually emote and not be reprimanded for it, but my role models, my parents. One was okay with being angry, and the other one not so much was okay with being sad. So this is part of my personal conditioning. And I might also have cultural conditioning around emotions and emotional experiences, right? So what are some of those contributing factors for you personally? What is the current map of the mind that you have? Number 4, this is really about what was your state before the emotional event? So if you can bring yourself back to that emotional event, was it a time that was very stressful? Did you have some pressures on you? Did you get a lot of sleep or not? Were you quite vibrant and happy and then the emotional event became a shock? So just think about what kind of emotional state you were in before the emotional experience, this experience occurred. Okay? And then number 5, these are possible responses. So there's an actual response that you had to the emotional experience, and that's number 6 here. You can write that in. But the possible experience, a possible response is if you were to respond in a more extreme way than you did, then what would that look like? Maybe jot that down. If you could have responded in a more constructive way, what would that look like? If you have awareness that you now have, but you had it back then, right? Maybe that is awareness is a component that would allow for you to imagine what another response would be. And if you'd like to, you can also chart what you think that your autonomic nervous system was doing during that experience. You can just draw 2 lines and make your own chart there. But that's optional, right? But this is just another, were you dysregulated or were you regulated, right? Were you activated and really worried and concerned and on edge? Were you really, really depressed and stuck in the low zone? Or were you in the resilient zone as you were coming into that experience? And after that experience. So, should I do it's very good.
인도의 지표가 있나? emotional science 지도하실 나라다가 홍도 사는 게야말로 홍도 여벌에서 있는 여러분이나 그들이 지금 나와서 제가 하는 것들을 좀 고마워요. 나의 한국 기회는 디테일을 배웠는데 시스템 공부가 와서 나도 이해하고 말아. 근데 지금은 지금 순전히 지금 만들어서 좋아요. 그 소득이면서 대한 아버지 외로이나 대한 게 다만을 더 좋아하는 게 공부 제 이유 공부 때가 나가는 참고해서 나가 공부 교대 계속 공부 교육 근데 다만 공부 교육 그런 건 어디서 공부 primary study demand. Primary study 영성 교육. 남배중 대표는 3년째 해줘가지고 뭐 사회 공헌 예를 사회 공헌 나는 뭐를 전화하셔야 나 공부제 그 가와서 하는 지난제 기억세 discuss it about it. I wanted to then the whole system, if I can just kind of summarize it, as I was saying earlier, remember, when you are looking at the timeline of the emotions, and you really, one of the things that here we are looking at is what contributes to the unfolding of certain emotions. And there are many conditions. I mean, this is what I cited earlier for something like I cited three things, right? Dispositions, the possible triggers, but inappropriate attention or the projections. That's what, Paul Ekman is the same person who's his work. Paul Ekman says that events do not trigger emotions. Events themselves do not trigger emotions. When you find that events do not trigger emotions. It's the appraiser, our appraiser, that trigger that leads to the trigger of emotions. The appraiser is that nanse part the 유디 다른 이미 the roda jola, but did that roda jola. That so the 유디 the motiche. But muझे साबत होने चाहिए ना साबत चले वाला दूरा चलते हैं पर नीचे ही पाए ना चिल्ला चिल्ले दावे ना कि मुझे क्या चिल्ले कर सबस दूर हो ना सो आमाची बात हम कहते खास साबत नहीं नहीं पाए ना सो पुकुल देते जाते शुरू पुकुल थोड़े खाना शुरू होगा तो किसी की तरह हमारे समझने निकल पड़ा हम लोग ना पाए शायद आगे कैसे नीति युद्ध चीज़ हुआ हमारे 이게 따져보아 되게 the emotion so in that case, if it is our appraisal or interpretation that that contributes to the trigger of the emotion, then what shapes our appraisal? It's shaped by many things, including the cultural beliefs, the values, as well as our physical exhaustion or not, and the whole range of events have been a contributing factor towards appraisal how we relate and the event. That's what it is.
Personal stories. What I'd like to share is that in the classroom, after doing an experience like this, we would often turn to each other and do a mindful dialogue, either in pairs or in group, so that students can share the insights that they had while undergoing this experience. And then we would do a group discussion afterwards. I'm going to show you a video of the students who were in my ethical dilemmas class. And they're going to talk about the meaning that they have come to know about emotions and self-compassion, and also resiliency. So the three topics that we've covered and most recently. And we will take a break for tea right after the video. Okay? Hopefully the sound will work. If not, you can go to tea. Yeah, it's only 3 minutes. Okay, we'll figure this out before we share it with you. Okay, thank you so much. We'll have a little brief tea break and be back at